Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family, what's going on, to the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's happening, and to the New Life Evangelistic Center family, headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to Bob. This evening, we're going to have a continuation of a discussion that we had last week with our guest, and that guest is none other than the beautiful, vivacious, dedicated sister named Jerroll Sanders, who is chairperson and the founder of Owners. Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti.
Thank you.
Okay, in our previous show, you have a lot of background information about yourself, being very active in both the business world and social justice. Can you just share with our audience, as a reminder, some background information about yourself?
Sure. I've been in business since age 10, working in family businesses, manufacturing firms, retail operations. I've represented the minority businesses here in St. Louis, operate a business center at the convention center, worked on major projects, I-40, Keel, clients. I built one of the largest communications companies in the area called the Writing Company, Jared Consulting Inc. and Depeche Advertising and Design, and basically worked on major government projects and but all the time, I was leaving my office, going into schools, or doing things that were important to the community, because I believe that we all have a responsibility to improve the lives of others, and so I've lived by that.
Okay, on that note, I know one of your thrusts of your organization was with pushing legislation, but I know, which we discussed at a previous show, that your organization has been focused on a theme called Revote.
Yes.
And what is Revote?
Now, that's R-E-V-O-T-E, not R-E-V-O-L-T. So what happened is basically, and this is not my organization, this is like Voices of Millions. It's an initiative that I started, and our website, just for those who want to know, is revote.info. Basically, I designed large-scale computer systems for AT&T. And it became clear to me about March of 2016 that this hacking was occurring. I saw some reports, and I began to follow
Wait a minute,
about March of 2016.
March of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2016, were a major election that was taking place in America. National elections, starting with the primary elections in August of that year, and then the national election in November of that year. And you're saying, as you're working with computers, you're seeing some examples of hacking?
No. What I'm saying is that the FBI began to publish, there were little stories about hacking of U.S. computers.
Oh, okay. All right.
And the hacking of election systems. So I'm like, And so it really piqued my interest. So I began to kind of follow it, right? And then as the primary occurred and Donald Trump won against all odds, I'm thinking, maybe the is getting louder and louder. So on election night, now listen, think about this. From as far as I can remember, pollsters were able to predict what election outcomes would be. I mean, it's a science, literally. And on election night, the entire nation is miffed by these election results. And I knew
regarding the presidential.
Regarding the presidential election and federal elections. So I knew instantly, or I concluded instantly, that Russia had hacked U.S. elections. So I get up the next morning.
Wait a minute. So are you saying to everybody that's listening that prior to it became kind of like public knowledge that it was, in your opinion, that it was some hacking taking place?
And let me tell you this.
With the Russians.
With the Russians. Right. I actually made a video and posted it to YouTube 2 days after the election, and it's still there for anyone who wants to go and look at it. I listened to it a couple of weeks ago. It was uncanny. And I announced that Russia actually determined 2016 election outcomes. So I immediately get busy. I'm not an attorney, but
And again, let me stop you. I got to just go through this whole process. So in March or before the election, you were getting little snippets of the fact that the federal officials were saying that there had been some hacking taking place.
Exactly.
So that made your ears shoot up.
Exactly.
And then on the night of the election,
right,
when everybody thought that Hillary Clinton was going to be the victor based on a lot of the polls that had been out there.
Yes.
And the actual winner, as per that night, being Donald Trump.
Yes.
And based on that, 2 days later, you did this video.
Yes.
Where you were...
Posted it to YouTube, calling upon Obama to declare a state of national emergency and hold a new election because Russia had hacked our elections.
Oh, okay then. Now, on what basis were you saying Obama constitutionally? Because in the prior show, you were saying you had done a little study constitutional. On what basis would he have been able to call the election? Well,
at the time, I argued that I was. Now, mind you, I'm not a lawyer, but I knew that it couldn't be legal for a foreign adversary to determine election outcomes. And I thought that that kind of an effort would be justification to declare the election null and void. Since they had, Russia was actually inside our election systems. I felt that would be justification for Obama to declare a state of emergency and call for a new election. And so what's interesting about this is I wrote a legal brief, okay? I began to circulate that legal brief. In fact, to a candidate, Sean Brown, who had run for Congress up in Virginia, and I circulated it around. But it was legally insufficient, but I didn't know that because I'm not a lawyer, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt. We got to take a break.
Okay.
And we come back with that.
What does it mean to you, the help you're getting, that New Life's giving you to help you get off the streets?
What it means for me, it means that it gives me the ability to experience a better quality of life, first of all.
Thank God for New Life Evangelistic Center.
As many of you know, Zaki Baruti is such a friend of the downtrodden, the poor and the needy. He's a long-term personal friend of mine also, and we've been involved in many, many activities, demonstrations together. And I'm so excited for all of you that have caught the vision, that care about those in need, and are helping to support Zaki Baruti's show. And that's all possible because of your special gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center. And I want to encourage you to send it now and then request a copy of the book, Through the Fire. Through the Fire. It's an exciting book that's telling you how God is moving in spite of the opposition to get 1411 Locust opened back up again. In fact, your Christmas gift will help us do just that, to get it open at this particular time. And that's why I'm asking you to send that gift and request a copy of the book. Everyone who shares a gift of $10 or more, we want to get this book out to you. That helps us with postage and handling and the cost of printing the book. And you can send it to New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Helps us to get 1411 Locust open back up. Helps us to have a tremendous Christmas event this year, a special Christmas Day party we're having. Yes, it's going to be great. You want further information on that, call us at 314-421-3020. Please continue to pray for the work of New Life Evangelistic Center, and please share your much-needed gift now with New Life Evangelistic Center. Every dollar you share provides $3 of direct support because of our dedicated team of volunteers and staff. It's very important we hear from you now. So again, please send your special Christmas gift And all the gifts of $10 and more, please request a copy of the book. We'd love to send it to you through the fire. And that's to New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri 63166. Let's keep the dream alive. Let's keep the movement alive. Let's do it. We can do it. We will do it as we prepare to move into a new year. If each one of you will pray and share that much needed Christmas gift now, and know that your gift is helping so many people.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Jerroll Sanders, president and founder of ONUS. And we're discussing the concept of revote and her position that the 2016 election had been hijacked by the Russians. And on that note, on the other side, we were just saying you had written a brief.
A legal brief. It was insufficient. It was not sufficient. It wasn't constitutionally sound. But I didn't know that. So I appeared on national radio, talked about the fact we needed to nullify the election, and people began to join the effort. And we began to communicate with Lawrence Tribe, who is one of the renowned constitutional lawyers at Harvard. We were communicating via email. He said there was no way there was currently no constitutional basis to reverse or to undo a federal election. I told him I think there's always a way. So I became busy. I found Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which has been deemed a dead clause for 30 years. And what I argued is that this clause says that the United States shall guarantee to every state a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. And so I argued that in the 2016 election, the United States failed to protect state cyber territories against invasion, thereby rendering the election unconstitutional. So I never argued that Russia fixed the election or anything like that, votes tampered with them. What I said is that the moment that the United States government, which Barack Obama knew, Mitch McConnell knew, they all knew that Russia was invading U.S. cyberspace, that when they failed to protect that, it nullified the election. And consequently, the election should be declared unconstitutional. And then what that would mean is that every policy enacted by the Trump administration would be determined null and void.
Okay, so you were arguing that point. It sounded like a fairly sound point. And you were arguing that to whom now?
I drafted a legal brief. I filed it in federal court, and Tribe had warned us that there would be federal judges who would try to hold on to it. So I had people file across the country. A federal court in Massachusetts came back and named it a case of first impression, meaning that it had never been presented in a U.S. court of law. Constitutional lawyers started calling me from all over the country. This is a brilliant argument. How did you come up with this? Well, because my case was stuck in Denver, I then said, okay, we're going to take this perfect case, because the ruling from the court was perfect.
And when you say it, Joe, I'm sorry I have to keep interrupting.
Okay.
When you say your case in Denver, are you talking about a personal case, or are you talking about...
We filed in all cases. We filed this case in multiple places across the country, and I filed in Denver. Okay. And so because the Massachusetts case came back within like 2 days or 3 days, this judge obviously liked the case, it was perfect and right to move to the Supreme Court. So I began to write a Supreme Court case to advance it to the Supreme Court under the 3 women who happened to be in that group, 3 Caucasian women. I moved it to the Supreme Court because what I'm trying to do is stop Donald Trump's inauguration. I move it to the Supreme Court, and when it gets to the Supreme Court, there was so much fanfare about this case, they decided to say, oh, this is our case. We wrote this case, but I have the copyright on the case. So,
and who was saying it was their case?
These are the petitioners who were on the case.
Okay.
When the case got to the Supreme Court, but here's the important part. The court accepted the case, which it will receive any case sent to the Supreme Court if it's properly formatted, okay? They accepted the case, but the court never asserted jurisdiction over the case, which means it never entertained the argument. I've subsequently talked to the head of the Supreme Court clerk, who has assured me, because this is our second legal strategy, if we can find a state attorney general to bring this case, the court is sure to assert jurisdiction over it, because our argument is not about because our argument is based upon the government's obligation to the states. So the states have the standing, not citizens, the states, to bring this argument to the courts. And so right now, that's what we're working to do. We're trying to find a state attorney general who will take this case to the Supreme Court so that it can be heard. And I just have to add that every attorney who has read this case, not one can find anything about it that is refutable.
Wow, that's you're just laying out some real deep info. Now, where are you at in terms of finding a state attorney that would be willing to file it on behalf of their particular state?
Well, I subsequently filed a case in California. I'm trying to get Becerra to bring this case. And that case may very well be deemed a case of first impression. But what we're really trying to do is bring this to the forefront so that people will know about this case. CIA, we have a CIA agent who has Robert Baer. You may have seen him on CNN. He and I talk. Right, Robert is in 100% agreement. In fact, Reich, I've forgotten his first name, but who was in the Clinton administration, he too believes there should be a complete nullification of this election. I want everyone to know this. Trump, again, has appointed more appeals court judges in his 2 years than any president in recent history. He doesn't care if they know law. All he cares is if they are white supremacists. So every civil case, every criminal case that marches into the court, guess what? It will be heard before these judges. And the beauty of the revote is that when the Supreme Court declares this election null and void, everything Trump has done to date will be rolled back, and we'll go back to what we had the day that Obama was left office. And this is one other thing a lot of people do not know. Not only did Russia aid President Trump, but Vladimir aided a number of congressional candidates so he could give Trump the majorities he needed to do his bidding.
So on that note, we got to take another break.
If you can't receive NLEC TV on channel 24.2 on your TV, you can watch us on your home computer or laptop, anywhere in the world. Simply type in NLEC TV, then select NLEC TV support and click on the small NLEC TV on the right of the menu bar. Click on the play indicator to start the live programming, the same programming as 24.2. You can then enlarge the picture and enjoy your favorite programs like the NLEC Worship with Larry Rice, The Bernie Hayes Show, Experience the Benefits of Change with Pastor Burris, Conversations with Zaki Baruti, News and Views, and so much more.
Can you hear the music of creation?
NLEC TV is also available on all mobile devices such as smartphones and iPads. By getting the NLEC TV app, you can enjoy NLEC TV anywhere you go.
I want to ask you at this moment to please pray for our community. We need a prayer at this particular moment. So much hurt, so much pain, so much injustice. I see it on a daily basis. But God answers prayer. Pray for justice. Pray that the Holy Spirit will sweep across our community, and so many people, as they're God-fearing people, their hearts will be melted, and they'll reach out to these that Jesus refers to as the least of these. We'll see churches open their doors, and the Women in Need program coming forth. A church will open its doors, and we'll be able to take the women and the children that are suffering on the streets of our community to a particular church each night and bring them back. Pray that the doors of the 1411 Locust Building will open soon, and the financial needs of the New Life Evangelistic Center during this very critical period will be met. Let's bind together in prayer. God answers prayer. Keep the faith and keep on praying for our community. Let's believe Him for miracles at this hour.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Jerroll Sanders, president and founder of ONUS, and also on the forefront of calling for the implementation of Revote, where she is seeking to throw out the 2016 election, national elections. Now, some people may say, what kind of Kool-Aid you drinking?
You know what? You're absolutely correct. And this is a first. But here's what I always say. A large problem deserves a large solution. And never in U.S. history have we witnessed what we're witnessing. So if you do not, if you do not want to exit, and let me back up for a minute. I was not a fan of the Democrats. In fact, I'm not a fan of anyone in this political system because I don't believe any of them really, for the most part, serve citizens. But what is important is that this is a gigantic problem of massive proportions, and it is a gigantic problem that deserves a gigantic solution.
Now, on the other side, because it was intriguing some of your points in terms of taking it to the Supreme Court, but as you know, with the recent selection of Kavanaugh, who's now on the Supreme Court, and this, the swing vote is now 5-4, if not 6-3. So the bottom line, you'll be faced with a Supreme Court that's already aligned with Trump. If, say, by, you're not drinking Kool-Aid and everybody say, oh, she was drinking some real water, and they was able to get it there. So how would you respond to that?
I don't want to disclose it, but I think there's a tactic. First of all, if this was a case in the lower courts based upon federal law, the judges would be forced to recuse themselves. But because Congress cannot legislate for the judiciary, and the judiciary can't tell Congress or the president what to do, what the judiciary can do is called judicial review, pursuant to Marbury versus Madison. They can say what happened is unconstitutional, and then it would thrust all this back to Congress and the executive branch to come up with, to fashion a revote. So, with that said, because of the principles that apply in lower court, I do believe that there were recusal, that the judges must recuse themselves. And I even believe there's a way to even compel them to recuse themselves.
Okay, then. Now, going back to states' attorneys that were filed on behalf of that particular state, are you aware that with this recent election, and I don't know if that would take it out of the realm of legally per what you are calling for, recently there has been the election, and it's historic, 4 black state attorneys that I'm aware of, one in Illinois, Kwame Raoul, a sister in New York, Letitia James, a brother in Nevada, Aaron Ford, and Keith Allison in Minnesota. Are you planning on approaching them to see if they would file it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, we've got a case pending in California right now before Becerra, actually suing the state of California. It's really an interesting case. So I do ask people to go to revote.info and read it. But also, something that people are not aware of is that with the declaration that the 2016 election was unconstitutional, that ruling would actually put in place, or I should say, the whole process that would be needed to accomplish a new election, it would actually address many of the voter suppression tactics that have been used throughout the country for decades. Because remember, underlying this argument is the fact that the federal government has an obligation to protect states. So now the federal government has to have standards that can together provide a web of protection to all of the states in the United States. And that would mean no poll closings at the last minute. It would just address a plethora of issues that we've been concerned with as a community, as a minority community, for decades.
So anybody who is excited about what you are advocating, how would they get in contact with you? But before you give that, we have to have another break.
Okay.
You can help New Life Evangelistic Center break the cycle of homelessness by providing monies for Metrolink tickets. It's absolutely essential at this time. New Life Evangelistic Center is providing hundreds of Metrolink tickets every week to homeless people so they can get to their jobs, so they can get to their doctor appointments, so they can find a place to sleep at nights. Will you please share your much-needed tax-deductible gift with the New Life Evangelistic Center? Every $30 you provide enables New Life to get 10 of the Metrolink tickets. And you can send those gifts now to the New Life Evangelistic Center at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. These individuals are having to walk so far at this moment, and a Metrolink ticket means so very much. And not only does New Life Evangelistic Center desire to provide for the homeless throughout the greater St. Louis area, but also throughout the Springfield community. Your gifts are very much needed at this time. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Thank you for praying, caring, and sharing at this moment.
Hear this, you who trample the needy and do away with the poor of the land. Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. You trample on the poor and force him to give you grain. Therefore, though you have built stone mansions, you will not live in them. Though you have planted lush vineyards, you will not drink their wine. For I know how many are your offenses and how great your sins. You oppress the righteous and take bribes, and you deprive the poor of justice in the courts.
The New Life Evangelistic Center wants you to help feed the hungry and shelter the homeless by joining Club 24. For $24 a month, you can be a part of touching people's lives. For just 80 cents a day, you can make a difference in someone's life. Call 314-881-3210 or give online at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Jerroll Sanders, president and founder of Owners, who's been, as an organization, pushing for the 2016 elections to be overthrown. You know, we only got 2 more years before the next election, 2020. For anybody who may be interested in working with the concept of Revote, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, Revote Coalition is very separate from Owners. Just I want to make that clear, because there's a whole different group, Voices of Millions, that's working with Revote. They can go to our website and sign up, which is, again, revote.info. They can call their state attorney general and tell them that they need them to challenge the election. They can begin to talk about Revote. Impeachment is different from a revote. Impeachment will remove Donald Trump. A revote, or which is, I should say, a nullification of the 2016 election, will roll back all of these harmful policies and then start anew, because Russia interfered with our election. It's illegitimate. The 2016 election is illegitimate. And guess what? We need to have a redo so we can know that the officials at the highest offices in our land were elected by the people and not by foreign adversary.
One last thing, we only got a minute or two left. Your thoughts on the Robert Mueller investigation of your president?
I think he is a consummate professional. I think they're leaking strategically so the public will be informed and they can take us along their journey. And I think even in the end, I think people need to understand that the investigation into criminal matters is very different from protecting or redressing the citizens' right to vote. People think if he impeaches Trump, then guess what? That handles the problem. No, it doesn't. We, the people, have the right to pick our elected officials, and we were denied that right in 2016, or we can assume we were denied that right because we know Russia was involved, and we deserve a redo, and then we can watch as Mueller completes his task as well. Okay, then. So there's a tremendous task ahead. Any final statements? We only got about a minute left. Yes. Big ideas are very difficult for people to grasp. And unfortunately, we don't get what we deserve because we don't grab onto big ideas. Begin to tell your friends to go to Revote and tell them the only way is to nullify the 2016 election. Talk about it everywhere you go. On that note, it's been a fast program. I truly have enjoyed you being with us. May God bless you on your efforts on behalf of the people.
On that note, I encourage everybody to get involved. Join a progressive organization that speaks truth to power. On that note, again, God bless each and every one of you.